Is this mic on? I don't think this mic's on yet. Is the mic on? Can you hear it? If y'all want to grab a seat, we will we'll get things organized here. I mean, I can be on top of it. Is the mic on now? Can you actually hear it this time? Okay. Well, actually, my name is Ross Brown. We had an interesting winter season with the LPOA. We were doing fine until probably late December. Then all of a sudden we got a message indicating that our president resigned from the LPOA and also from the Lakeside board. So that meant we didn't have a president anymore. And Mary Ann Kilmer took that over and has done an outstanding job as the new president. But her problem was she didn't have a vice president. So she asked me at her house one day, she says, would you be interested in being the vice president of LPOA? Because she had to appoint somebody. So I looked at my wife, Robin. I said, do you think that would be a good idea? And she looked at me and says, well, is there anybody else available? And so I said, okay, Mary Ann, we'll do that. So the biggest problem was Mary Ann was going on vacation for 3 months, leaving in April, and the first meeting is in May. So guess who got to run the meeting today? So at least you have someone kind of emceeing how things are going. So, and we've been having several meetings throughout the rest of the winter, Zoom meetings, mainly because we all live in different parts of the state or country and so forth. So we can't get together personally. So we did Zoom meetings about once a month, and then we also had committee meetings. So anyway, I wanted to welcome you here. I hope you all had a good winter. Hopefully we're going to have a wonderful 151st year with Lakeside. So welcome back if you're just coming back, or thanks for coming to the meeting if you've been here all year. So next thing we have is we're going to do an invocation, and we generally do an invocation with some sergeant of arms, but we lost that this year too. So Carol Robertson took over as a sergeant of arms, and our previous sergeant of arms has agreed to do the invocation today. So Larry Kispeth will step forward here.
Thanks, Ross. Let us be in a spirit of prayer. Dear Lord, spring is in the air. The days are longer. The days are brighter. The cottages in Lakeside and their owners are awakening to the 151st season of the Chautauqua movement on the shores of Lake Erie. As the pulse quickens in the quiet solitude of our lakeside, we are thankful for the opportunities that we do have. Those opportunities provided by you, we thank you. In the words of Ralph Waldo Emerson, for flowers that bloom about our feet, for tender grass, so fresh, so sweet, for song of bird and hum of bee, for all things fair we hear or see. Father in heaven, we thank thee. For blue of stream and blue of sky, for pleasant shades of branches high, for fragrant air and cooling breeze, for beauty of the blooming trees. Father in heaven, we thank thee. Lord, be with us as we learn of the new season and the business of Lakeside as we are about to enter our 151st season. Father in heaven, we thank thee. And the people said, Amen.
Thanks, Larry. Larry Kisbeth was our Sergeant at Arms, and he was selected to join the Lakeside Board. So when he joined the Lakeside Board, he had to relinquish his position with the LPOA. And we certainly want to thank Larry for all of his, so many things that he's done for LPOA in the past couple of years, and wish him well in his newest endeavor for the Lakeside Board. And now I need to put my glasses on. We're going to talk about what's new. The one new thing I wanted to talk about is the new wall on the west side of the lake. When I was told we were going to have a remedy for the problems with that part of the lake, I thought we were going to bring in a bunch of boulders and throw them up against the shoreline and keep piling them up until it got high enough that they wouldn't roll off anymore. When I saw what happened down there, yes, we did get a bunch of boulders. Many, many boulders. But beyond that, we have a beautiful wall along that part of the lake, which was fine. I saw them build that a little bit at a time. But I thought that was going to be the whole thing. It was just going to have a wall so you wouldn't climb over the rocks. Next thing I know, we have a walking path through there. Wow, what a wonderful addition to that part of the lake. So I want to thank everybody. Okay, the reason I brought that up is because I live on Oak Street, right at 3rd Avenue and Oak Street, and we go down there all the time. Well, there's a lot of people on the other side of Lakeside that never get over there, because they're so far way down on the other side of the lake. So I wanted to bring that up because that was a wonderful addition to that. Now, if I put my glasses on and look out here, I want to find out who is new to the area. We have any new owners in here? No? No new owners. Everybody's old. Okay, well, I guess we'll scratch that part of the agenda then. So you don't have to give me your name and address since you're not new. I'm going to the other thing I wanted to do is, in the past we haven't really introduced our LPOA board, and which is probably the reason you don't know who I am, because we were never introduced to you. So I do want you to know who the Lakeside Board is. Mary Ann Kilmer is our president. She is currently in Greece. She just sent Larry Kisabeth some pictures of the Acropolis. And she sent me a text message at 6:30 this morning telling me all the things that she would like me to talk about. And I sent her a message back and said, Mary Ann, I got it under control. So anyway, our Lakeside Board I'm the vice president. Our secretary is Connie Roop. She cannot be here today because she's on some type of a quest to get points on shuffleboard. So she's a shuffleboard champion, apparently. Tom Ramsdale is our treasurer. He cannot make it here. He's on vacation in Traverse City, Michigan today. Carol Robertson is our new Sergeant at Arms. Okay, Elizabeth Irwin is not here. She's our Lakeside Board representative. She's in a wedding today. In a wedding today, not at a wedding today. So, at least it's not her wedding. The next person is Ron Janke. Ron is on the Streets and Drainage Task Force and any task force that Charles can find to put him on. So he stays very busy. The next one is Dwight King. And we have a special welcome to Glenn Becker, who is at his first meeting today. He's back in the back of the room. This is his first meeting on this board anyway. And the other spot is still open. So we're going to be having an election this year for that spot. Okay. We're going to do committee reports. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 committees. There's 6 committees right now. We may have 7 in the future. So we're going to do committee reports because we really haven't had a lot of committees in the past. So Lori Switzer is going to be, she's a chairman of our social committee. So she's going to describe to you exactly what the social committee does and how much fun they're having.
Good morning. So I'm going to tell a story of how the social committee evolved, and I'm only going to talk for maybe 5 minutes so that you know I won't go on too long. In the spring of 2023, some of us were playing our regularly scheduled Wednesday mahjong in Diane Hartenberg's living room. She so graciously hosted us, as she does lots of things in the community. And it became clear to us that we were outgrowing her living room space because more and more people wanted to play. So as all women do, we started saying, well, we could do this and we could do that, and what if this? And we suddenly decided, wait, we need a strategy. We can't all go running to the association office and asking for space to do different things. So we started looking around at who could be our leader. And we recognized that LPOA already had tried game night. So it seemed logical to us, since we were all property owners, that maybe the best place to get our advocate was LPOA go forward and ask Charles for space. So we talked a little more, and the women's club was expressing interest in participating as well. So Mary Ann Kelmer had a meeting of the first social committee, and we brainstormed. And we thought, what do we need? Well, the first thing we really needed was square tables. That was our #1 priority, because if you're going to play mahjong, in most games you need square tables. So we looked around Lakeside, and we peeked in the windows of Lago Poolside, and we're like, oh, there's lots of square tables there. This might be good. And the other positive is that it wasn't being rented out to groups in the off-season, so we wouldn't be competing or conflicting with Lakeside. So Mary Ann met with Charles, who graciously agreed to allow us to use that space. And Charles, where are you? Is he here? I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised with the results. Next up, since we had our space, we realized we had no budget and we had no staff, but we had square tables. So now what are we going to do? And so what we realized we needed to do is we needed a grassroots effort where people came forward and said, I'd like to host mahjong. I'd like to host what we came to call the Lakeside Book Club. And those people would be the leaders of that activity. And those leaders not only met there every week or had a substitute, they'd call security, who so graciously unlocked and locked the doors for us. They made sure that maintenance knew if we needed trash taken out. And they kindly posted on social media. We utilized Lakeside 365 and Talk a Lakeside. And Mary Ann, who put in the newsletters when our activities and what were going to take place, because we wanted to make sure that we were consistent. So we became volunteer driven, and the results of you can build it and they will come were true. Lago and Poolside became, and I'm going to use some, these are not permanent terminology, but some we came up with. It became the LPOA clubhouse, and people began to pitch in and make it our own. A clock went up on the wall. We realized that the lighting wasn't bright enough at night to play euchre, so people strung lights. Then somebody said, you know, these metal chairs make too much noise when we move them on the concrete. And I go up there, and suddenly there's golf balls on all the bottoms of the chairs. And so it started looking really good. At Christmas time, Christmas decorations came up, and it really became community building, which is so much different than what goes on here in the summer. We all love our Chautauqua season, and we come in and we consume it and we're excited about it. But in the off season, which became known as the quiet season, because it's not really off, it was this quiet, suddenly there was community coming together, and everyone was leading. They were providing food, sweeping floors, wiping tables, setting up. Everything was very good, and all the communication was very positive. So what were the outcomes? We had a really robust calendar of events. I think you'll be pleased to know that between November 1st and now, we have Mahjong left next week, we hosted 99 events in the off-season. That's a lot. Some things that we did were Mahjong, hand, knee, foot, bridge, euchre, Sunday night socials where people brought appetizers and met their neighbors, potluck luncheons once a month, what was known as the Lakeside Book Club, because we just didn't want it to be women, we wanted men to feel welcome, and they were. We had a Super Bowl party, and we had monthly lunch outs at local restaurants. So our attendance, at those 99 events, as of last night, we've had attendance of over 1,300 people, which is really great. And so we not only served the, quote, year-rounders, we welcomed our neighbors outside the gates. We welcomed weekenders. We welcomed people who were visiting friends. They'd bring their friends. We had grandchildren come to play, and we had parents who were here to visit their kids who were like my age for the weekend. We wore name tags because we realized, as Ron said, where's Ron? You know, he's over there, or Ross, he's over there on Oak. I'm over on Elm. You'd think this was like the east and west side of Cleveland sometimes. What we realized, we didn't know each other. We didn't know each other. We were just passing each other and not establishing relationships. So this gave us an opportunity to become community members, and we realized that we were meeting new friends. The engagement was very different. And so what we were building is we were building a neighborhood community within Lakeside in a very, very different way. So at the end of the season, we surveyed the group, and there were no negative comments, only the desire for more and suggestions for the next year. And I'd like to read you a few of the comments. The atmosphere was very inclusive, and the learning atmosphere was accepting. I can tell you this was true because I came into the season having no idea how to play euchre, and they tolerated me because there were people with years of euchre experience at those tournaments. There was a diverse group of attendees, young, old, male, female, inside and outside the gate, people from east, west, north, south side of town, even guests. LPOA off-season activities established and deepened relationships in the community. We got to know each other and appreciate each other's lives. You didn't have to share the same interests or views. We built a sense of neighborhood and reaching out to help each other, caring for others, and watching each other's property. Nice to see participation happening from outside the gates expands Lakeside's relevance to the greater Marblehead Peninsula. And it gave people coming for a weekend or shoulder seasons a chance to connect with Lakesiders otherwise they wouldn't get to see or wouldn't get to know during the season. So the question is, where do we go from here? After we surveyed the group, the committee, which again is this loosely put together group of people who agreed to chair different activities, we looked at the surveys and we created a calendar to restart next September. The quiet season at the LPL Clubhouse is alive. A sneak preview of things that people suggested that we're going to try to balance into the schedule because we realized we had a few little glitches with too much food in one weekend. Imagine that. They want to move Rummy Cube, which has been in Egler, up to LPOA Clubhouse so that everything is one place. They'd like to add some progressive dinners, which someone has agreed to host, and it would be a little different than you normally do it. More themed events like the Super Bowl party, and some outside field trips outside the gate. So honestly, this has been a joy to watch, this organic community building. And last night when we closed Euchre for the night, it's like the gates going up, where it's like, it's over, but you're excited for what's to come. So Charles, thank you for offering this to us, and we look forward to next year.
Thanks, Lori. That was longer than 2 minutes, by the way. But anyway, it was an excellent discussion. One of the things I wanted to talk about today, before we get to the rest of the committee meetings, is I wanted to make sure everybody understood that as the Lakeside Property Owners Association Board, we cannot do this all alone. And I think we found out this year that we have a lot of people that are willing to work with us, work for us, help us out. We have a total of 18 volunteers on these committees, which I think is a fantastic statement for the community itself, that they're willing to put that much time into Lakeside itself. The next committee we're going to talk about, and this is another pretty important committee, and it's a pretty new committee, I believe, Ron. Is that true this year? It's called the Community Relations Committee. Ron is chair of that committee, and he's going to give his report.
Good morning. The Community Relations Committee is a special committee which was formed last September. The first words of the Lakeside Property Owners mission statement is listen to property owners' concerns. And that pretty much describes the Community Relations Committee, because under our charter established by the Executive Committee, we are to listen and understand the common concerns of property owners at Lakeside, including those in the campground and Island View. We have 3 members of the Executive Committee on our committee. They are Marianne Kelmer, myself, and Dwight King, who was introduced to you earlier. I also would like to recognize the other members of the committee, and would they stand if they're present. David Blank, Carter and Joanne Bobbitt, Jeanette Keaton, Richard and Catherine Lesourd, Jim Switzer, Sarah Twitchell, and Jim Haskins. And I thank all of you for serving. We meet monthly, and we have a regular agenda that we follow, and try to keep moving. One of the things we have done, and one of our charges, was to recommend options for communicating with the members of the LPOA. We've submitted those recommendations to the Executive Committee Board. We are the ears in some ways of the Executive Committee, but they are the hands and feet, and take the actions in response to our recommendation. You've already seen one of our actions. That's the feedback form that you were handed today. We recommended that to the Executive Committee in March, and in April, this was used at our very first meeting and used again today. The pattern that we are suggesting is that when you receive communications from the LPOA, whether it's by email, whether it's a meeting like this, that you're going to have an opportunity to submit questions and concerns. That way, we can understand the common concerns. We can try to correlate those things and move forward with responses to those concerns. If there's one objective that I personally have, is that our committee will be successful in getting concerns raised and responses taken by whomever the appropriate person is. It may not be the response that's desired, but the question will have been asked, the question will have been answered, and we can move on to other things. The committee will be continuing to meet during the summer. We are 22 years, if you will, and we're happy to receive these forms anytime, whether it's at the conclusion of the meeting today, if you take it back to your cottage and think of something, write it down, drop it off at the office. We initiated this feedback form for the first time in April, and I think within a week or so, Marianne Kilmer had responded to every person who had submitted something. So this is not a paper exercise. This is how we understand common concerns, and we will continue to use not only this form, but other methods to understand common concerns. Thank you. Bill, I think we're going to take the questions.
Great. Just for your information, we're going to try to hold all questions on any topic until the question and answer session. The next issue is membership director or membership and directory committee. I don't know that they necessarily have a report. Is Mame Drackett or Cindy Gisick here today? Do you have something you wanted to? Hold on a sec. Wait a sec. She's got the microphone coming.
Thank you. Just that over the course of the winter, we made phone calls. There were 4 of us all together, Diane Balmer, and I have to apologize. I forget who number 4 was, but we made phone calls to every property owner that we had any kind of information on to update the information, because it was apparent that the database was woefully outdated and inaccurate. And thanks to all of those who responded to us, we did our best to get the information corrected and updated, and it should be reflected in the property owner's directory. So if you see anything in the directory that is not correct, please let one of us know. We can't get it corrected in the directory this year, but we can correct our files so that going forward, it will be reflected in the directory. Thank you.
Thank you. I knew that. I knew you made those phone calls. I just forgot. So I should have mentioned it to you earlier, because that's a major operation, calling all these people to find out their information. So that helps tremendously. Okay, the next one's the bylaws. I just happen to be the chair of the bylaws committee. So I'm going to mention to you that actually Marianne is the chair of the bylaws committee. I take that back. I have the nominating committee, but I'm on the bylaws committee. The bylaws are being in process right now. We have been meeting weekly since January to review all the bylaws and try to bring them up to date. And so we're at the end of our meetings. We have one more next week, and hopefully that will take care of the main part of the bylaws. We're going to put them together. Larry Kissabeth is on that committee also, and he's typing them up, and we should be getting those sent to us momentarily. Carol Robertson, no, I'm sorry. The bylaws committee is not Carol Robertson. she is on the nominating committee. I don't have the bylaw committee here. There it is. Carol McKinney is on the bylaws committee. Rick Green, Larry Kissabeth, Dwight King, myself, and Mary Ann Kilmer. You'll notice that 3 of those people are not members of the executive committee. They are volunteers that have been so helpful in putting this together. Rick Green's an attorney. He's been watching over us so that we don't mess things up too badly. Carol McKinney is well-versed in bylaws. And Larry Kissabeth obviously is a good typer because he's typing up the bylaws. So we're supposed to have those to us. He's supposed to have those to us probably in the next week or so. We will review them again to make sure everything is like we wanted it to be. And in the July meeting, we'll be presenting them to you for your review. You will not be getting a written copy of the bylaws probably, but you will be, I'm sorry, you will be getting a written copy of those bylaws probably, but you also are going to have in the 2023 directory today's bylaws. So you can put those side by side and see what the differences are and let us know what your objections are or evaluation to those bylaws are. And we will take those under consideration, and by the October meeting we should have a new set of bylaws for next year. So that is going to be finished, fortunately. The nominating committee is myself, Carol Robertson, Connie Roop, Michael Berry, and Mary Ann Kilmer. We're in the process of putting together, we have one director opening, and when the new bylaws come out, they're going to be called trustees. We have one opening, and the president, vice president, and sergeant at arms are going to be elected also this year. So at the July meeting, you will be able to make nominations from the floor in addition to the recommendations that the board makes. So at that point, and then we'll have a vote in August, and we'll have a new board by October. So actually, we probably have a new board by the end of the meeting in August because we'll have all the ballots counted at that time. So that's what the nominating committee's been doing, and we do have a list of several people that people have recommended for the bylaws committee, or the nominating committee. So we are well into the process of that, and the next one is the Lakeside Board Report, which we will probably not have since our Lakeside Board representative is not here today. I'm sure she was in attendance at the meeting, the board meeting yesterday, and we always think of Larry Kissabeth as a member of the Lakeside Lakeside Property Owners Board, but since he's no longer part of that, he had to sit through the Lakeside Board meeting, but he can't tell us what happened. So we're going to wait for Elizabeth in July to give her report. Other than that, the next thing on the agenda is our program, and we're going to ask the safety director to come up, and I guess she's here. Oh, Finance Committee. Well, Finance Committee is not going to be discussed today because we don't have one yet. We hope to have it in place by the October meeting and fully staffed with whoever's on that committee. So, yes, we don't have a Finance Committee yet, but we will. We're planning to. So now, the Safety Director. I don't see her here, so Charles, you're on.
Good morning, everybody. And welcome back. Yes. Sometimes I say welcome back to people and they say, well, I never left. And it's funny, I think I'm gonna have to go to the LPOA Social Club in order to see who all is here year round, because I don't get the chance to see everybody. But before we get started, I just also want to recognize, I think they may still be in here. Did they leave out? We had two dignitaries from our Bayview Chautauqua here with us. Are they still in here? Carl and Michelle Hansen. They were here doing some training with hospitality training for our team, and so they're here around campus, and so they were in here earlier, and so we wanted to recognize them. And then also, I want to ask some of our team members that are present if they can just make their way down here. We can do a quick introduction of them. And then while they're coming down, I'm going to ask all of our board members that are here to ask them to please stand. Thank you for your service. Yeah, you guys can come up here. All of you know Jim Schweitzer, who does everything. That he says that nobody else wants to do, but we're grateful because he does it also in 3 days. So, we're grateful for him. We have Sam, who's our Vice President of Programming, or Financing, I'm sorry. No new roles, Sam, I'm sorry. Gretchen Cologne, who's our Vice President of Marketing and Advancement. And then we have new team members with us, and then one you've known about, Fred Filling, who is taking control of major projects with the streets and drainage. And so you'll hear from him here shortly. And then Amy Skolnick, who is now part of our development team. And so we're grateful to have her. And then Karen Torrio, who is our new Vice President of Programming. And so, and many of them serve as close advisors to me as well as the senior team. And so we will say thank you for them and all their hard work they've done and what they're going to be doing over the course of this season. So can we give it up for them? Thank you, guys. The one thing that I am grateful for, because, and we'll get into this shortly, is just this team and the work that they've done with all the things that over the course of these last few years that we've endured as a community. This team has stuck together, thrived together to continue to show up and help make Lakeside the place it needs to be. And so we're grateful for them and all their efforts. At this time, before we get into, I'm not sure where Joan is, but I'm sure she might be arresting somebody somewhere. So, and but she is working on, I'm sure, trying to find out who destroyed our basketball court the other day. Yeah, it's kids, I hope it's kids. I don't know. But, so we have some work we got to do there. So there, you pass by there and see the drawing. It's just unfortunate, but we are taking care of it as soon as possible. But we are also filing charges for the vandalism that's there. So, and then at this time, I want to have Dave and Fred and Gretchen come up and talk to us about streets and drainage. And then Gretchen has outlined a wonderful communication plan that she's going to be sharing with us as well. So I'll give you guys the floor.
Well, welcome. What we plan to do, and Ross, before you get too far away, we were hopeful that we were going to have Q&A as part of our presentation as well, if that's all right with you. Or we can defer it if you'd prefer. But Gretchen has all the slides in our presentation. It's about the communication process, and we're going to give a short update on where we are, but we would like to be able to have questions from everybody here if they have questions, and not just let us go on and on and on. So that's up to you. We didn't talk about this before. No, we didn't. So we can wait, but.
I think I'd rather wait.
All right.
To the very end.
Well, the first thing I'd like to say is over the past number of months, since last August, we've kind of refocused what this program's all about. And you see that Gretchen has changed our title, but we're not going to change it, Gretchen. The stormwater management is the highfalutin word that allows the engineers to charge more. It's the Streets and Drainage Committee, but we are much more focused on stormwater management drainage than we had originally thought about, so that perhaps we can talk about this as a stormwater management program with a little bit of paving on the side. The second thing is, as the engineers have done much more detailed work, we've learned that there's probably a greater proportion of full-depth replacement work than we had earlier anticipated. So, of course, both of these things are going to impact cost and impact schedule, but we don't have any new numbers at this point in time. We're satisfied that we have sufficiency in the budget based upon what we know today. That could change. We are pushing to get a June timetable completed for the bid processing, so we're looking forward to having bids by the end of June, we hope. And at this point, we're looking at phase 1 to be a little less than it had been earlier, based upon the work requirements. We're looking now at likely 4 north-south streets on the east and the intervening east-west streets in that area, and the 100 block of Oak we've added to that process. I think the good news we have is the funding process is in place. We are working on this as a pay-as-you-go basis. We have in the neighborhood of $800,000 available to us at the end of September of this year, and that's forming the budget for phase 1. We will be having in the neighborhood of $1 million a year for the next several years available out of the existing funding process, assuming renewal of the special assessment at its present level. So we're hopeful that there's no increases relating to the funding for the streets and what's in place already. Fred, I'm sure you have comments, and then as Charles said, we need to leave room for Gretchen with her communications program on this, our communication program on this, making sure that we are in contact with the community and individuals. We're only impacting 100% of the cottages through this process. So that communications obviously is an important part of this. Fred, I'm sure you have comments to add.
Thanks, Dave. I'm not sure there's anything I really need to add. I guess my position is to oversee the design team that's working on this project, and also working as part of the Streets and Drainage Advisory Task Force. So we're trying to coordinate that, and I'm now been, what's the word, acquired, maybe? Voluntold. I'm now a staff member at Lakeside, so I'm Shanghai, Dave says. I'm a part-time staff member, so I'm not here. I'm not a full-time employee. The best way to reach me, if you need to reach out to me, is by email, and it's just fred@lakesideohio.com. So that would be the best way to get a hold of me, and then if we need to get in touch any more than that, then we'll arrange that from there. Thank you.
So we know that it's very important because this project affects every single person in the room. And so over the course of the last year, individuals have been working behind the scenes to put together a pretty robust communications process to help us all navigate this project over multiple years. I want to lend special thanks to Meredith Meyer, who is also serving on the task force. She is a Lakesider and also a communications counsel and advisor. And also Brenda Haas, who is also serving on the Streets and Drainage Task Force through the last year. She also specializes in communication. And so the strategy team is myself, Alex Stelzer, who is our Senior Director of Marketing, Brenda Haas, and Meredith Meyer have been working together to ensure that we're communicating along the way pretty strongly about what's happening, all the way down to when the mill and fill trucks are going to be coming through your particular street and on your particular block. So we really divided up the individuals to make sure that we were communicating with everyone at different layers. And so you'll see in Tier 1, of course, Fred's running the communications to the task force. And believe it or not, every time we're having meetings with CDE, our engineering firm, Fred is communicating that back to the task force, as well as our leadership team, and then our board. So we're staying in tight contact. The next tier involves all of you. And the communications will be running at different paces through the project and pre-project. So we're ensuring that also the full-time staff are involved and can help answer questions that you all might have. So we'll be doing talking points behind the scenes and frequently asked questions. The third tier is that we have outside vendors coming and going from our grounds throughout the year, and so we want to make sure that we're communicating with those individuals like Zimmerman Construction, Dearth Construction that's coming and going. And so we will be communicating with that segment of individuals to make sure they're up to date. And then last, our daily, weekly guests and our Marblehead community and neighbors next to us, because as we go into construction, they'll need to know what's happening as they enter the grounds. And so we've put everyone into kind of multiple groupings. As we thought about the project, we centered on 3 communication goals. The first one is ensuring that all the community understands the project scope, what's happening in each phase of the project, and all the way down to those financial summaries and also answering questions as we need to trim the trees along a street because we need to make sure the trucks can come through. And so there are lots of those components that we want to make sure the entire community understands. The second goal is that we're collaborating with you individually. We know that we have 1,000 parking spots, driveways, that we need to connect with you to ensure that we're communicating with our engineers to make sure we're thinking through every facet. Fred has done a great job at also making that list that you all gave on the specific tension points on stormwater management. And so those have been identified to our engineering company, and so then we can come back and communicate with you those aspects throughout the scope of the project. The third one is we need your help. We will be setting up a street ambassador program and asking individuals to volunteer in different neighborhoods so that our communications team can connect with you individually and you can help us connect with the individuals in your neighborhood. I'm gonna lay a sheet back near where Mike is on the sound podium. If you are interested in volunteering, we would love your help. Just sign your name and then I'll circle back and connect with you. Throughout the summer, the street ambassadors will also be helping set up neighborhood gatherings as we move through the different phases so that we can dive into the details in each of those neighborhoods to make sure that the community and individuals in that neighborhood are well informed on the scope of the project for those streets, what's the timeline, what are the next steps, and all of those details. I will say I did not go to school for street construction, and I've learned way more than what I ever thought through this special gentleman, Fred Sealing. And I will say that Lakeside is so lucky to have him on board. He is amazing, and he's been meeting with the communications team weekly so that we're staying up to pace as fast as the project planning is moving. So then we can help communicate that to you so that you are also well informed. I want you to write down this website right here, and you can also take your phone and take a picture of this slide, community.lakesideohio.com. We don't have one website. We have 4 websites. This website is the second website that sits underneath the main website. And so this is where we're going to connect the hub of all the information, streets, stormwater management. Everything is going to stream onto this particular site. Underneath here, I'll give you a little pointer. There's also some homeowner announcements. When you head to this site, you're going to see this banner, Streets Alert. This is what we're going to use on all of the communication going out about streets and stormwater management, so that when you see this on social, when you see this on the website, when you see this in our e-newsletter going out, you'll know that, hey, I'm alerted. I need to read through this so I'm well informed with what's happening. So you'll see this banner on everything now going out dealing with the streets and stormwater management project. You'll see a second section. There's 2 little pictures at the bottom that are actually cut off. There will be little header articles on the website, on this website, that will show up. You can drill in and read the entire article. And so there are already 2 articles posted there about geotechnical boring and the update about the streets. And so you can already go to this website and see 2 of these articles and experience what we're going to be doing. In addition, on this website, we will be setting up a text message alert so that you will receive all of the e-communications straight to your cell phone, and you don't have to dig through your email address with this. So you have an option to opt into this particular communications. Did everyone take the picture? The second is I'm just going to highlight some areas that will start off as we consider the pre-construction process, which is this summer, because we'll start into construction into the fall. The first is the e-newsletter. Those will be going out about twice a month. And as we move into the construction process, those will be going out weekly so that you are well informed with what's happening on the grounds, and also those individuals within that phase will be able to plan out trucks coming up and down their streets. The second one is I spoke about this, we will do neighborhood gatherings in the first phase. That's starting with Poplar. And so these small little neighborhood gatherings will be especially for those individuals in the location that phase 1 takes place. Fred, myself, Charles, representatives from the Street and Drainage Task Force will be present at these neighborhood gatherings so that we can dive into specific answers to details and help provide you those next steps. The community website I shared about, that will be a great kind of hub for all of your information. And then I'm going to point out here the text message connection will be put on the website so you can sign up for that. And we will send it out in an e-newsletter, and you'll see a big old button that says sign up for the text alerts, and then you can put your cell phone in and we'll be sending that out. The last one I'm just going to point out is exhibits and displays. We are going to put a couple of trade show banners in the back of Hoover that help give you just some educational information about street construction. Believe it or not, it's just not simply paving streets. There's a lot in this. Same with stormwater management. So we're going to give you some of those educational pointers that help you understand the full scope of this project. Lastly, the communications rhythm is in 5 stages. This will happen over every single phase of the project. So we're going to move us through communicating. We're in stage 1, so you'll see we have the LPOA meeting. Check, that one's off of our list. We'll be setting up the neighborhood gatherings, the ambassador program, and starting the street alert communication. We'll move into stage 2, which is construction phase, and that's where the frequency of the communications will ramp up so that we can keep you informed as construction equipment is moving into the community. We'll continue that on in stage 3. Stage 4, we're going to collect a little bit of feedback on the communications. What do we need to change? What do we need to improve so that when we do this again on the second phase, we have things down and going, and then we're going to wrap up the communication and get ready to start on stage 1 again for the next fall. So we're going to take this through every phase, and this will be the rhythm over the next couple years as we go through the construction project. I again want to say special thanks to Meredith and Brenda Haas, connecting with the team. We are being proactive to make sure that we're getting the communication in your hands. And so please email if there's anything you feel that will make this process better for the community. We would love your input, and we'll take that in and kind of work that into the plan. So I hope this helps you jump into the process as we move into construction after we end our 151st season. And we need your help. This is a collaborative process, and so please reach out and provide some feedback and insight, and we'll adapt and change as we go along.
This is an amazing communication strategy, and I just want to give it up for Gretchen and our team for working through this. This is actually will become a model for all major projects that affect our residents and homeowners as we move forward, because it's important to us that we keep people informed, educated, and then collecting feedback, listening to you all to hear things that we are missing, understand things, nuances that we may not have thought about. The wonderful thing I love about organizing various task force is that it really connects the experts in our community with our staff members and experts that are on our board, and they bring a collective genius that is like no other. And we could not have gotten this far without the leadership of David Blank and that streets and drainage team that's been working together, and we could not have gotten this far in our communication strategy without Gretchen and the communication team that worked on this. And so let's give it up for them again and just say thank you. So you don't mind if I just sit for a minute, do you? And one, because I think just having a conversation with each other, we won't be long. But first I want to just say how much I have grown to love this community and love each and every one of you. I could not have imagined when we came here 4 summers ago, 3 years ago, it'll be 3 years in June, how many deep and rich relationships that we would have over a short period of time. You know, as the LPOA club members called it, the quiet season. You know, and my wife had surgery
during that time, and ended up being a little bit more complicated than what we anticipated. The amount of people that poured out their concerns, and I had men bringing flowers to my office for her, which was also a little weird, but it was, you know, it was but, you know, hey, I understand, you know. But no, it just really showed the love and appreciation and the care for that. And then just the overwhelming support from this community of becoming the president and CEO, which I never would have thought when I came here 3 years ago that would ever even be a possibility, nor was I even looking for that possibility. And so I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you for your support, your trust, and your belief in our leadership. And my commitment, thank you. And my commitment is to not take that trust for granted, to communicate as much as possible so that you can understand what's going on in Lakeside, how Lakeside is doing, when we need your help, and the successes and the struggles, the opportunities that's there. That's my commitment, so that we can continue to be a thriving community. And I've been telling our staff, and I've said this in the gatherings as well, that this generation gets to lay the foundation for the next 150 years. And it's important to me and our team that Lakeside is here 300 years from now, impacting people's lives and enriching the quality of life of all people. That is very, very important for me and for our team and for the board. It doesn't mean that we're always going to get it right, doesn't mean that we're not going to make mistakes, but when you build relationships, there's grace, there's a level of grace there that we have to give each other. And so as we move forward, I just want you to know that as we learn things and discover things, that we'll always put these things before the community for community input and feedback before moving forward. And then there's some things we may be investigating and moving forward in that investigation and discovery as we put out into the community as well. But it's things that are time sensitive that we need to look at, that we become aware of, that we need to still communicate it, but still move forward with it. For instance, when we got the grant for the West revetment, we had to move quickly on some things to secure the grant, but we were able to communicate that out to the community while we were moving forward to make sure that we had things in process. And I know it was brought up here before, but I also just want to give a quick thank you to Jim Schweitzer and Don Drew for leading that project down there and bringing it to fruition. A few other projects that's going on is one. Do y'all notice a difference in the visibility of the screen? The new projector is in. The new projector is in, and so we just want to say thank you to each and every one of you that gave in our Giving Tuesday. Also, many of you may say, we collect this preservation fee that's on the daily tickets, and it was our way of spreading out the cost of helping with our historic facilities and various things to the daily ticket holder and not just on the homeowners. And so when the first year we did it, we collected $45,000, and that went into Bradley Temple, and to help renovate and restore projects there. Last year, we collected $75,000, and it helped go into Orchestra Hall to help with this project. So we were hoping to have, before the season started, not only the projector in, the new screen, the stage being able to be opened up, and the new restrooms in, but due to some construction mishaps and different things of that nature with companies, we had to delay that till the fall. But we do have the projector in the fall. The new sound system will go in, the new screen will go in, and then the construction will start on the restrooms. And that will then just open this place up to maximize the use of it in our quiet season as well, which we're hoping that as we develop relationships with other churches and corporations, that they'll be utilizing our facilities year-round, and that will be what we're hoping for. The Second Street gatehouse and restrooms are nearly complete. What would you say, about 85%, Jim? 2 more weeks. And so, but again, Jim Schweitzer leading that project, and we want to say thank you for him for leading that project as well. But that just eases it's all about infrastructure and usability. When we think about as much as Perry Park is used now, the children needing to use the restroom, running up to people's homes or to the bushes, we now have that facility there for them to use, and so in 2 more weeks that will be open. As you've read, Hotel Lakeside Dining Room will be in operation this season. A different menu from Cold Creek, but if you want to get to know the quality of Eric's food, you can go to Cold Creek and Castelia and have breakfast or lunch there, and so it kind of gives you an idea of the quality. But the quality in the home family feel, right? And so we're excited about that. The pizzeria is going to be delayed a few weeks opening, but they are working very hard to get that construction finished there, and so we're grateful for that. Now, there has been, I wanted to talk to you because I know there's been discussions around Lakeside becoming a municipality. That is not true. We're not looking to become a municipality. However, we, in 2019, somewhere around 2018, 2019, when the master plan was in conclusion, the board at that time looked at a tool for how do we accomplish this master plan? How do we fund these elements of the master plan? How do we deal with the infrastructure that is eroding? And how do we deal with the maintenance that have been deferred for many of years on our facilities? And so one of the tools that they looked at was TIF. That didn't work out. And then another tool they looked at was becoming what is an NCA, which is a new community authority. I believe, do we have slides that we can just put up on a couple things, just so we can, I want to talk to us about this because before, in Lakeside, rumors don't get legs and run off on their own, and the story grows at all. So I just want, but before that ever happens, not that it would happen at Lakeside if we get misinformation out there, I want to be able to tell you up front where we are with this, and where we're going with this process, right? And so when we think about Lakeside and more than 50 major facilities that we have, that we operate in this community outside of the homes that you all own, the maintaining the cost of the grounds is is growing at a rapid rate. Inflation has had a large impact on that. Our budget continues to grow every year. And that means that tension, because we have 3 streams of income. Those 3 streams of income is, of course, our gate fees, our assessments, and fundraising. And so when costs of goods and services goes up and employee labor costs goes up, it puts tension on those elements of what we can do. It put tensions on our budget. And so one of the things that the board looked at back in that time was NCA, and NCA stands for, again, New Community Authority. And so there was supposed to be some communication to the community a couple administrations ago. Due to unfortunate changes in leadership, these things have fell through the cracks. So this started back when Daniel Rogers was here, and there was supposed to be a communication plan put out then, and of course you know that changed, and then when Leader Kip came in, then that we had a change there. And so what I decided to do was, as we are investigating this and to investigate it properly, in addition to what the work the board has already done to investigate, is to communicate to our community, to our neighbors, to my neighbors, what we're doing, what the NCA is, educate us while we all get educated at the same time as to what this tool can do for Lakeside, understand the nuances that are attached to it, the benefits, the risk, and et cetera, right? And so in order to do that properly, you probably know me by now, we're going to do a task force. But that task force, I do believe, will help myself make strong recommendations to the board as to how to utilize this tool, when to utilize this tool, and or if we utilize this tool, right? And the way and the way we've agreed upon doing that is to get feedback from our community and input from our community and use the experts that are in our community in order to do that. The task force is investigating NCA, the need analysis. As you know, just to get even in most of our buildings, in most of the buildings that we have, this is not including the streets and drainage, which we know the price tag on that. But just to get to even on our maintenance is already $5 million. We did a building audit. We updated the building audit last year with an intern, and then we realized that this is not roof, mechanical, or electrical. This is just basic maintenance that's been deferred over the years. And so $5 million to get to even. So when we look at what's the long-term benefit, what are the opportunities, and so forth. We want to hear from you as we educate our community on this tool. And so we're going to be listening. We're going to be investigating. And quite frankly, we're going to need your help in order to accomplish that. So far, the people that are on the task force, are we? I'm not sure where we are. Let me just. Okay, great. So I've already spoken to Steve Bruneau, who's also on our board. Comes with years of experience as it relates to community planning and development, and how we utilize this. David Blank, as you know, pretty soon I think I'm going to have to put him on payroll as well. um, yes, yes. But David, who has a strong background in finance and as you know, very carefully thinks through projects and loves this community dearly. And so Don Leach, who was the initial, the originator of this, to bringing this concept to Lakeside when he was on the board in our finance department. Also, Cindy Mall, who has been a long time career in finance with Westfield Bank. And then, and Bill Drackett, who was a developer, understands real estate and developing large projects and been highly involved in this community, is also on this task force. And then Mike Shade, Doug Talbert, Mike Shade, Doug Talbert, both been in city government and state government, both understand legislation, how this process works, and so they are highly involved in this project. And then the staff members is myself, Sam, and Gretchen. And so we're the ones right now that are taking up this task force. Oh, and Ron Yonke, here he is right here, as your LPOA representative. And so Ron will be giving regular updates back to the LPOA board and to you all as well, as it relates to what's going on this task force. And so some of the next steps that we're looking at is our town hall meetings, neighborhood gatherings. We're setting up a website similar to the streets and drainage one so that we can collect information, hear your feedback, answer questions that you may have. And as we just learn through this process as to how this can benefit Lakeside, right? So for instance, I just want to give you just some raw numbers as it relates to the opportunity that NCA can give. Now, also I want to clear up one other miscommunication, if you will, is that the board had only commissioned me to do the preliminary work to discover if NCA is the right tool for Lakeside. We have not filed the petition yet, but we are working through what that petition needs to look like that fits and benefits Lakeside. If at any time we see that this is not going to benefit Lakeside or put Lakeside at a greater risk than what we are willing to accept as a community, then we will not be moving forward with this as a tool to use. But if we think about if we had an NCA and we looked at a long-term project, say like, which most of you remember, I still have a little PTSD from the time we introduced MKSK study to you. I left out of here. I called my wife. I said, I think I'm going to be fired. But you know, if we had that, we take a $20 million project, and this is say we had to finance it over a 30-year process. Going through an NCA and utilizing NCA would give us a 1.2% better interest rate. That's a $7 million savings in interest over a course of the 30 years. $240,000 lower annual debt service, right? And that also equals $100 less annual costs to cottage owners per $100,000 market value. And then also, there is no collateral to the assets of Lakeside using the NCA. And so it protects the assets of Lakeside as well. And so those are some of the benefits that we've come to understand if we would utilize an NCA. But we are going to be taking your questions. The task force is going to be helping communicate this out, educate the community even more, and so we'll be here, right? And we're going to go through this together and see how to best, one, if this is the right vehicle and tool to use. Two, if it is, how to use it and when to use it. And then how do our property owners' input impact the use of it and structuring and how do we do that. And so that's where we are to date, and that's the next steps that we're going through within that. We'll pause for questions, and then we'll go from there. Yeah.
Just a minute,
Well,
please.
hold on. All right, Sergeant at Arms has spoken.
Ross, do you want to say something before we start with questions? Did you want to say?
What we want to do, I assume this is working. What we want to do is try to keep your questions to one question, not an entire, we don't want to, your question will be one question, that person's question will be one question, and if there's a problem with that, we'll be up here after the meeting's over. We'll be happy to talk to anybody about any question you might have. So.
In my simple mind, I don't quite remember hearing the purpose of the NCA. I'd like to know what the strategy is and the purpose. You've told me a whole bunch of other things, but I want you to back up a little bit because I must have missed it. What's the purpose? What's the strategy?
Mm-hmm. The purpose was that this was a tool that was discovered by the board, by Don Leach, who was on the board at that time, brought it to the board back in 19 at the end of the conclusion of the master plan, and looking at tools as to how to fund those projects. That was the purpose, as a look at it as a tool for financing if we had to get into large projects for long-term debt. The strategy is what the task force will be discovering as well as we move forward. If we ever put it in place, the task force is tasked to give the board the recommendation on the strategy if they use it. Yes, sir.
Tom Jones, 910 East 3rd Street. Question probably is for Dave and Fred. The number that's been used up to this point has been $4 million, but it sounds like your investigation has found that there's more work to be done. So just to manage our expectations, should we hold that $4 million number rather loosely?
Any budget number you have to hold loosely, right? But we don't have any evidence that tells us we're going to exceed the $4 million at this point. However, you'll recall the $4 million had a very significant contingency in it, and we were beginning to use some of that contingency. And the question is going to become, what do we learn out of this phase one, which we can use to improve the process for the subsequent phases of this project, to attempt to keep this as low cost as we can, and yet deal with the drainage issues and get the repaving done so that everybody's satisfied with it. Doing the right job seems to me, and our task force, to be what our charge is, not to minimize cost. We have to be cognizant of the cost because it's your money and my money that goes into this. We all know that. And we're going to do our darndest to keep the cost as low as we can, but the primary objective is to do the right job, get the stormwater management process done as best as we can, and get the repaving done as best as we can. Fred, you want to add to that? Does that answer your question?
Rudy Peckinpah, 424 Lakefront. I've got a thought, Charles, and I'd ask that you maybe share the NCA statute with everybody in the room or the Lakeside community. I read it for the first time last night at about 10:30 on my cell phone, so I couldn't really study it. But it does seem to be a new body politic with taxing authority. And I guess the other thing that troubled me was it seemed to mimic almost identically the criteria of the Lakeside lease, the 99-year lease with all the other criteria in our lease, making me believe that Lakeside has lobbied the legislature for some time about this. This is the first I'm hearing about it today. So I guess my question is, does Lakeside have any thought, interest, or is there any discussion going on about, I hate to even say it, selling Lakeside to a developer, becoming a developer? And if any of that happens, does that potentially affect our 501c status?
All great questions, Rudy. There was work done on the legislation part in order for Lakeside to be considered able to become a new community authority, right? So there was language introduced in the Ohio General Assembly, and part of that language was to include Lakeside without naming Lakeside, but sort of the thing. And so it was saying that a developer includes a lease or continues to own and control land for the purpose of this chapter in pursuit of leases with 99-year renewable terms, as long as all of the following apply, right? And so it gives a list of various things that apply, which is our lease factors in there. And so in that process of the board discovering whether or not they could become a NCA or not back in 2019, there was a lobbying done to the legislature to introduce this language that we would have in order to do that. Now, there was a timeline on their sunset clause in there that they had to do it by a certain time. With the leadership transitions between Dan Rogers and Kip and so forth, it got an extension on that time. That extension has been given to December 31st of 2024, right? And so, as you know, there was no work done from that time from when Kip came in as the interim and then to his departure. And so because we have this December 31st sunset, clause here, we said, well, we'll pick it up and see if this is possible for Lakeside to become an NCA, if it's going to fit Lakeside even, right? And so the task force has been tasked to say, what are the recommendations to the board as to how to move forward and if to move forward within that?
Excuse me, I have one thing.
Yeah. I cannot answer the why to that wasn't done, Rudy, before my time and before most of the board members' time that are on here now. So I don't know. I just know the commitment I have to this community, and the commitment I believe the board is standing behind me with is to make sure the community that we do have transparency around these topics. And so we're bringing this now before moving forward. Yes.
I have a question here.
Well, it's really not, I'm going to cheat, it's really not a question. I'm going to try to manage some expectations. Fred and Dave have done just a wonderful job on the stormwater and
Yes.
the streets. Those guys have worked hard and they've done just a great job. Just some things to manage our expectations, though. All the water that's coming onto Lakeside, a whole lot of it comes south of us that we really can't control. Lakeside's built on the side of a hill. And so when you walk home this afternoon and begin to look up your street, you won't see storm sewers and you won't see curb and gutter like you have at home. So to be able to control stormwater runoff in Lakeside is a very difficult thing to do. It is a very complicated thing to do. And it is not a very easy thing to do. The committee has worked very hard and continues to work very hard to make it as good as they can possibly make it. But it's not going to be, I don't want to steal anybody's thunder, but I don't expect it to be perfect. Look at your street and think, what happens if I change the street side elevation just 1 inch? And then think about driveways and sidewalks and the way you interface between how you get off your property onto the street. So the street solution is not an easy solution either. So I'm not trying to rain on the parade, no pun intended, but I'm simply saying that this is a very complicated problem, and the committee has worked very hard to try to create the best solution for Lakeside that we possibly can.
Richard Hahn, 401 Maple. I am shocked. All the effort that went into defeating the MKSK outrageous project and bringing it down, compliments of Dave Blank and the sensible people, to pay as you go. And the rule in Lakeside has always been, we'll pay as we go. We did it on the pool. We got lied to about that. There's still about $1 million debt we're carrying, as I recall, from the pool. So we got lied to about it. But we've always pay as you go. What you're proposing for a study or whatever as an NCA is a long-term debt that will override any provisions of our lease. It'll totally change the character of Lakeside. If you think the board has the authority to do that, I suggest I don't think they do. But the important thing, most important, is that this is long-term debt financing by bonds. We, as property owners, would be obligated on the bonds to service the bonds, never mind what material changes, improvements, infrastructure was accomplished by virtue of that windfall in cash, and we would essentially become a publicly financed entity. I don't think too many people want to bequeath their residual estate to a new community authority. Maybe some people have big hearts, but if you're on the dole for public debt and bonds, then I think the planned giving department might as well pack up and go elsewhere.
Can I just respond to that? Again, this is, I'm not saying this is a tool that we're going to use. I'm saying this is a tool that's been proposed to the board. The board has investigated to this point. At this point, I feel, and I believe the current administration of the board also feels, that we need community input in order to move forward if this is going to be a possibility. One of the stipulations that could be, I'm not saying that it would be accepted, right, but it could be put into the petition if we went down this road, is that we could put in there that there is a possible majority vote to on what the project would be if we decided to do it, right? So, for instance, if we're going to care for our facilities and so forth, and we got into a long-term capital project in order to do that, then that power could be put into the hands of, say, a body similar to LPOA on a vote, right? It could be, that could be one of the, that could be. So this is part of the investigation process, the discovery process as to what's possible, what's not possible. We're learning these things and we're discovering these things, and so we will be communicating with you all to do that. It is not a set in stone deal that Lakeside is becoming an NCA, right? Let me just clear that up. That's not a set in stone deal. The task force is charged to understand to educate the community, but to more so hear the community on the possibilities and so forth, so that they can make recommendations to the board as to how to move forward. As far as the pool, yes, there is some debt. It's not $1 million. That is not. And so, and we've been paying down debt as of $100,000, nearly $100,000 a year for the last 3 years. So we've been eliminating our debt. And I understand that we are debt averse and we want to remain that way. At the same time, when we are faced with large projects and various things, sometimes a pay-as-you-go may not always be the solution as much as we want it to be. And so, but we're going to move forward hearing you, not going past you. Yes, sir, Ted.
Good morning, Charles. Just Ted Walkenhorst, 344 Cherry. I'm an attorney. I like to deal with facts. I'd love to be proven wrong, but this is the first time that the community that I know of has seen anything in writing. I know you talked about it in March. Seen anything in writing about new community authority. My question is, how can the community, not you, Charles, how can the community trust our association board when they worked on this 3 years ago, hired a lobbyist? We know this because it's in, it's obvious when you look at the law, it was written just for Lakeside.
Yes.
You say, and I know the board says, that we need homeowner input. The board did not trust the property owners 3 years ago, before they hired a lobbyist, to put this into the law, to investigate it. Wouldn't it have been better to come to the property owners and say, we think we need to do something here before we hire a lobbyist? And it's my understanding, and I'm sure we won't be able to get the figures, and maybe I'm completely wrong, that over $100,000 has been spent to date, not counting now, for the prior investigation of NCA, which was tabled. The board investigated it, did not tell us about it, did not tell us about it. And maybe they didn't tell us about it because all the board members signed non-disclosure agreements, so they can't tell us what goes on in board meetings.
Well,
my question is, and I said it already, but I'd like to understand, given all of these facts, and again, anybody who has alternate facts, I'd be happy to be corrected.
Yeah.
But if Lakeside investigated this several years ago, did not tell us about it, hired a lobbyist, and now the board wants to, wants the property owners to trust them.
Yes.
That's my question. How can property owners trust our board of trustees?
I understand. Well, Ted, which is one of the reasons I called you and asked you to be on the task force, which you declined, because we do need people's help that, and you do have a law background, and so we need to understand what these nuances mean, and that invitation is still open, too, by the way. So, just so you know, the non-disclosure agreement does not prohibit you from talking about the good of what we're doing. It's a good faith agreement. We have a good faith agreement. Yes. So there is, I'm trying to, if you just calm down a minute. That is pretty calm for him. Ted's a friend. I love Ted and Rosie. We have heated, passionate conversations on the phone quite often. It is, because we do have personnel involved, that is part, so anytime staff is involved in something, there is a level of finance that's also involved in this project, which is why the NDA is there. What's most important is the good faith agreement and how we're going to conduct ourselves on behalf of Lakeside. That's what's most important part of that document. So I would encourage you to read it before declining it, so you know what it actually says, and then you'll know. But again, the invitation is still open for you to help us to educate our community and bring things to the community. I cannot speak for administration that was here in 2019 or the board that was in place in 2019. I can only speak for the administration and the board that's in place today, and that they have said the community needs to know about this and how we got to put together a communication plan to get this out to the community. So I applaud this board and this communication for taking up that charge and doing that. We cannot go by past administrations or boards, and nor can I speak for them.
My question is.
Stand up, say your name and where you live, please.
My name, Nancy Walker Gerbitz, 526 East 2nd. My question is, does the Lakeside Association Board have the authority to commit Lakeside to the NCA?
So the NCA, the Lakeside Board does have the authority to move forward with a petition. That petition and the legalities of all that still requires community education and feedback. It also still requires neighboring communities to agree to the petition, right? In order for it to be actually filed. And so there's various layers as to the approval of that. But the board can say, hey, we want to move forward with it. But I still applaud the board for not moving forward with it and still putting it out to the community to hear the community, because that could have very well been done, but they did not move forward with that to do it.
Lynn Hudson, 324 Poplar. First of all, I want to say thank you for being transparent about this. And I agree with you. You can't be responsible for what people did several years ago. But you clearly have been instrumental in getting us to this point where you are talking to us about that. Yes. And for that, we are, I'm sure, all appreciative. Having served on an HOA board, I know about deferred maintenance. Mm-hmm. We have 51 buildings, you said, so they're not getting any younger. And so that's the basis, the impetus for this. So if we did not do this, what are the alternative strategies for preserving our assets?
Great question. Part of, and on Tuesday at the town hall, I want to give an update on our strategic priorities. Two of those priorities dealt with long-term strategy on financing of revenue and financing capital projects. Our team is working through that to try and discover what those strategies would be. I think, I love the pay-as-you-go process and all of those things. When I think about the price tag on each one of those facilities, it is a little unnerving to me as to say, if we had to deal with, let's just say we were in the middle of a renovation project that was a pay-as-you-go on, say, the hotel, and something drastically happened in Hoover, right? We would be hard-pressed to make the decision to either pause one, go without one. And so where a vehicle like this would say, if the community and the new community authority, people that was involved on the offset of that, said, well, we want to go forth and make sure that we have financing available, then we could do that. That's if we wanted to finance. Doesn't mean we have to use it, right? That's the other part. You can establish it, but doesn't mean you have to use it. Those are, for me, that would be something that would be a very drastic situation that we would have to do a repair on, right? That would be over a certain amount. And these are the things that we can put in the petition, right? That a project has to be this versus that, right? Or a certain dollar amount. And so I can't answer everything now because the task force is doing their job. And so we've only had 2 meetings, right? One to form it, the task force, the other to get the directions and the next steps. And then we're meeting again on the 21st to work out the communication plan to the community and to keep rolling this out. And so you'll hear more. One of the things that we want to make available to everyone, and we're setting up a mechanism, and Gretchen is working on the back end of this, is making all the documents that we can legally make available to every homeowner available, so that way you can read it, ask the questions for yourself, and give us those questions, and we'll answer them for you, because that's the only way we can move forward. You have to really be able to see it and read it for yourself and try and understand it. And so, which is why we need the lawyers in the room too to help interpret and break it down for those of us who don't speak legalese all the time, right? So I think it's there. But I want you to hear me say that nothing has been done outside of the petition to see if Lakeside could ever even be an NCA back in 2019. Nothing has been done by the board to date on moving forward into this. We do have a deadline, if it's going to happen, of December 31st, which is why I'm saying that if we're going to do this, I need the community's understanding, the feedback, and the buy-in, so that we can make a recommendation to the board if this is going to be possible or not.
We have a question right here.
Mary Gallagher, 619 Central.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm a retired social worker and florist.
Mm-hmm.
I am not an attorney. I am not a CPA. Clearly, math is not my thing, okay? But help me understand this question.
Mm-hmm.
How is this different from taxation without representation?
That's a great question. I think the difference is that we're trying to build the representation into this process, which is what I'm doing here, and which is why I'm informing you, and why we're forming a task force, so that we can make sure that if vehicles like this exist for Lakeside, if this is going to be a tool, then how do we put it and to the point where the residents have input and say so into this process, right? And so that's the difference, is that we're trying to build that into this process. And to the young lady's question that was here, the board could have, but they chose not to move forward with it. They chose to put this process in place and to say, Charles, you need to, make sure the community understands this and get the feedback and then give us the recommendation. And so I think that's the difference, is what we're trying to do now. The only way we get better moving forward is to do better. And so and communicate, which is what we're doing now. Well, we're communicating now. I'm communicating what I've learned and what our plan is moving forward. If there's a different type of communication you want, please come see me and tell me.
Tom Richards, 617 Cedar. Appreciate you bringing this to our attention today. The analogy of a tool is good because that's kind of what I want to come off of. So TIF was mentioned and MCA was addressed today. These are both tools. My question kind of leans towards, what other tools have been looked at? What other tools might be appropriate? Some of that communication about that process, whether we're looking at the right tool, whether this tool fits, that explained to us in Lakeside would help us understand that why the board is looking at this tool and making sure this is the tool that's appropriate for us to consider. Thank you.
Yeah. From my understanding, and again, just trying to understand the history of the work that's been done, is that TIF would require more input from the surrounding county and so forth. And that means that county would agree to give up a certain level of taxation back to Lakeside. From what I'm understanding is that when through that investigation, they realized that the county wasn't going to do that, right? And so, or agree to that. Well, the other way to utilize that in financing is the NCA, which because then now you are not asking the county for taxes back or to utilize a portion of tax dollars. You're actually putting on different charges. It's not a new tax. We cannot tax. We don't have the authority to tax. But there's charges that can be applied to various things, like to our hotels. Right now, if you go to a restaurant and use your credit card, you're subject to a 3.5% charge for convenience, right? So these various charges would be allowed to be added to be so that you can then utilize those charges. Say those charges added up to, $500,000 a year, right? If you did those things, then you can pledge that $500,000 a year to satisfy the debt long term at a very much lower interest rate. So that's how that would work out. So for instance, let's say if complete renovation of Hoover, which we know at bare minimum, Dwight, correct me if I'm wrong here, we're looking at about $8 to $10 million for the stage house and renovating of those things. I mean, the lighting and electrical alone is $2 million inside of Hoover, right? So you got that $10 million project, and let's just say because we have an average of 1,100 people per show coming through there, and if we added a charge onto every daily ticket, that would then add up that we could pledge that charge to satisfy that debt of the $10 million. And that's the difference in how to utilize that as a tool. We have been investigating other tools like tax credits, historic tax credits. We are looking into those things, even as it relates to the Hoover project now, and to how to fund those. But I'm always keeping at the forefront for us, one, our faith, our gates, and our 501c3, right? Those three are simultaneously equally as important to me across the board. So anything that puts those things in jeopardy, I steer clear from. And I'm gonna always steer clear from, and advise the board to steer clear from those things. And so that's.
There's other people that haven't gotten to speak at all yet.
Yes, we have someone else.
Hey, Michael Eggers.
Hey, Michael.
Somewhere on Plum 414, maybe Plum. So I'm a firm believer in pay-as-you-go.
Yes.
And I've looked at the debt service that we have at Lakeside, and it's damn near nothing. Most businesses, charities, 501Cs run somewhere between 30 and 35% of their annual revenue in debt service, and the last statement I saw, I don't even think it was 10%, which is good for us and as it should be. There are a couple things that we need to think about. One is, if you want to be pay-as-you-go, you gotta pay as you go, okay? So gate fees are gonna go up. You know, we're nowhere close to where we should be on gate fees. Season passes, it's $10 a day is what you pay as a homeowner. And we're not property owners, by the way, we're homeowners. Lakeside owns the property, we're just tenants. So it's $10 a day is what you're paying for your annual pass. Quit complaining about gate fees. The gate fees go up and the talk of Lakeside goes crazy. Listen, we're all on fixed incomes, okay? Nobody's special. Everybody has a fixed income. Charles has a fixed income, right? You might get a bonus, maybe, if you're lucky.
If the white gives me one.
But generally speaking, it's a fixed income. We have to understand that in order for our fees to not go up dramatically, we have to charge visitors more money to come in. So even, what are we at, 30-something dollars a day for a ticket? Does anybody know? $37, is that right?
38.
38 bucks? That's nothing. I mean, you couldn't pay $38 to see a concert in Hoover if you just walked in off the street. And for the facilities that we have and for the things that we allow, the concerts and all of that, $38 is nothing. And then, what is the preservation fee, $1 or $2?
$2, in some areas $1.
Okay, it ought to be $5.
Yeah.
All right, just move it to $5 next year. It's the cost of doing business. So if you want to be pay-as-you-go, you got to understand you're going to have to pay more money as a homeowner. That's just the way it works. We got one more comment, sorry. Giving in this community is pathetic. I've seen the numbers, it's pathetic. If everybody in this, we have what, 1,000 homes, give or take? If everybody just gave $100 a month, that's $1.2 million a year. Additional income, that's just if you gave $100 a month. That's not counting the folks that are giving $5 and $10 and $20 and $50,000 a year. But the number of people that actually give in this community is pathetic. Look it up. It's a sad number.
Hi, I'm Sarah Twitchell, and we own cottages at 545 Central and 551 Central. Our rentals are down this year. And so I just wondered, and I talked to at least one other homeowner who confirmed that they had openings in July, which is really almost unheard of. And so I'd just like to get some insight about why that might be happening, or if other people are experiencing this too.
Yeah, we're pretty still early in the sales of, I mean, our pre-sales are doing fairly well. I know our cottage rentals, we're now about 105 cottages or so rented. I don't know exactly out of the available weeks where we are on the percentage rate of that, but I can get that back to you here and put that out. So, yeah, I'm not sure why, why that is. I know last year we saw a little bit of a dip in the early bookings, but then by the time later June, early July rolled around, some of those months filled up fairly quickly. And so, but I don't know, but we can find out. I do know, too, that I've spoken with streets and,
Let me give a real quick
okay.
answer to that. In the July meeting, we're going to have the realtors that are handling rentals give a presentation, and we're also going to have someone that deals with Airbnb and VRBO give a presentation. So you might want to hold that question until July. I know it's going to be I know, Mike. You're right. You're right. It's going to be a little late. My cottage is open for the entire month of June and 1 week in July, which is unheard of also. So I understand what you're saying.
All right. Do we have any other questions?
You have a question over here?
All right, and then we have Tom here.
My name is Glenn Becker, and I live at 225 Sycamore. And I'm learning that we're able to give input into this NCA program. And one of the things I'd like to give input in to say that something this large, this huge, this impactful, would never be allowed without a vote from the property owner, the homeowners. There's my input.
All right.
Tom Jones, 910 East 3rd Street. Michael, the development team will be at your house this afternoon, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I was on the board in 2019. The board did not support NCA. So that's a fact. Okay, the board did not support this. That's why it wasn't brought to the community. So to suggest otherwise is just not true. This was brought to us by the administration then. Where you got $100,000 being spent on a lobbyist, I'm not sure we got that number. That's not true. So. Well, okay, but Ted, you're saying things that you have no facts about.
Exactly. I'm denied the opportunity.
So it's okay for you to mention 100,000 out of the air?
No.
Okay.
Show me the book.
That's what you said. Okay. So anyhow, the board did not support that. I appreciate what you're doing here. Like we said, the past is the past.
Yes.
And you're trying to look forward.
Yes. All right. Thank you guys very much for your feedback. We do have a town hall on the 21st. We'll be discussing things a little bit more in detail there. The other piece of that, and I want to say to Michael, that some of these things probably wouldn't even need to be looked at for sure if we can accomplish a few things. And one of those things is that we have a 33% give rate by property owners. That if we can, even in small ways, get that up to 90%. And just in small ways. Doesn't mean that you don't have to feel like it's not the dollar amount that matters. It's the heart and the fact that we strive to give it, right? The other piece of that is that, if we can work on a way and commit to, whether through legacy and through other mechanisms, double our endowment, and then even have a goal of looking at tripling over the next, say, 7 years, that would make a significant impact on the ability to take care of projects and to fund things that need to be funded as it relates to that. And so we're trying very hard to take care of the facilities that we have. You know, when I came on as operations officer, I said then that we're not looking to, unless it's absolutely necessary, you know, we're not looking to just build new things just to have the new shiny things. But let's take care of the things we have, because I think if we can make some of the things we have shiny, it becomes more attractive. We're working to understand the market even more, and to advertise and to and put together marketing plans to reach those that need to come to Lakeside. Because, and I've said this before, I do believe when you think about the life-changing impact that Lakeside has on people's lives, that the condition of our world, that if we can just get people here, it will change their lives the way it's changed our lives. But we have to make the place attractive. We have to bring forth those things. And I want to end on something here. Can we end on some positive news, right? We're getting ready to go into 151st season, and I do want to say that financially, Lakeside is stronger than we've been in years, financially. The last 3 years, we have not had to borrow money, where historically we were borrowing money, as most nonprofits do when they get into the drought season, and we've not had to do that, right? We've been blessed through the philanthropy efforts. We've been blessed through various grants and looking at other tools to bring those things in, right? When we look at the West Revetment Project, we structured that grant because, you know, when you're talking about federal money, that could put a lot of things at jeopardy when you're a 501c3 and then when you're faith-based on top of that, right? But we were able to structure that with ODNR, that none of those things put in place, nor did we have to use the county as a pass-through, which would have cost us even more money to do that. So being private property, and that was public dollars, we were able to structure that deal in order to get that. Then we delayed it, and I know a lot of people wasn't happy that we delayed the process in that. But the blessing is that we got the right contractor at the right time, that the initial bid would have gotten us nothing but a rock, right? But the right timing got us not only the rock, but the wall, the walkway, and all that, and we came in under the budgeted price. Under. And on schedule, right? Because we put stipulations on the contractor that if they didn't meet the deadline, that they would then pay us money back off of that, right? And I mean, it was just right timing. And our religious life programming has gone up 18%. It's amazing to me how many people, and we were talking about this the other night over dinner, how many people that may not attend church year-round, 9 months out of the year, but when they come to Lakeside, they're at either the waterfront service or the Hoover community service, and those things are making an impact and overall. We also had an 18% increase in our 43% increase in our education programming. 43% increase. And that is just a testament of the work that our team is doing and John Mann is doing there. Arts and entertainment, 18% increase. And there's a war going on between shuffleboard and pickleball. We don't know who's driving the numbers up, but the numbers of recreation has gone up well over 40,000 people activities. And so that, to me, is a tremendous time. Our people days last year was at 79,000 people days. That says that, you know, regardless of what negativity goes on the talk of Lakeside, come and experience, invite people to experience the power of God moving in this place. That is what we have to experience. And it is my hope that these 4 pillars and our programming and the community working together will position Lakeside as a place where people know if I can just make it there, life will change for me. And so with that, I want to say thank you. Have a blessed rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you around campus.
Okay, before you hit the road, we gave you feedback sheets, and we really want you to fill out the feedback sheet if you have something to say. So you don't have to do it today. Actually, you can take it home with you, bring it back, you can send it in, email it, whatever you want to do. But think about what we've done today, what you like, what you don't like, and let us know. Other than that, have a tremendous day, and we're very happy to have you here. And for Marianne Kilmer, Marianne, we didn't screw up anything too bad because she's online today watching us.
And Marianne was at the board meeting virtually yesterday as well.
Oh, yeah. But, by the way, Marianne, I want you to know that Marianne Kilmer is on vacation. She's in Greece right now, and she attended the board meeting yesterday, which was an all-day session from Greece on Zoom.